So to start us off, I figured I'd make you guys do this to help me out a little bit. So let me pick somebody random here. So somebody random do the first one. Lily, do the first one for us on the board, please.
I understand.
Oh snap, Lily has to do it.
Oh.
Alright, Lily's going to do the first one on the board for us. So we're getting started. Phones away. Phones away, headphones out. Anime turned off, Greg.
Shouldn't the phones be away anyway?
Hey, how do you go with anime? Which one is it?
It's Attack on Titan.
What are we supposed to tell?
He knows what it is.
What is it? Anime.
Just
It doesn't matter.
turn around, pay attention.
Who's the main
It's all
character of
same.
Attack on Titan?
Yeah, I heard it's all the same.
They're not.
Alright, so Lily is doing the first one for us. She solved for x, and because it has the word and, it's an and problem. We talked about them on Thursday.
Oh yeah, I'm on.
Okay. And then we're going to put a circle at the 7. And then you're really close. The only thing is, when we do and problems, connect the dots.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my
connect those
god.
dots. So your arrows are actually going the right direction. Just connect them. There you go. Connect the dots. Connect the dots.
They were connected, but I thought I changed it.
There you go. Alright, and then for our next one, that's an or problem. Pick somebody random again, real quick. Let's do meeny, miny. I choose you. Nobody's at that desk.
Me.
Nobody's at that desk. It's Lenho Magi, it's you. Alright, Magi, do the second one for us. Alright. Magi's gonna do the second one for us, hopefully. Two up. No, don't go to the weather.
What? Whose kid is this?
There you go.
This is what
That
I
is a
tried.
steal.
Looks like Sonic.
Oh, looks.
Nope,
What is
up
it?
higher.
$27? Oh,
Alright, you got this, Magi.
Free Minecraft mods?
What do you? I wish you know what you're doing.
You can go out of the map.
Don't draw a smiley face, it looks stupid.
My bad.
Answer the question.
Smiley face. How high is
We're
that?
looking
So
at
first
the-
you wanna.
I think the other
That's
side's
rubber
wavy.
face.
That's the mother face.
Hey, hush.
You wanna fill that in right there?
Probably. There you go. Alright, I guess that's a circle, and you filled it in. You got the number 4, yep.
And you wanna go over here, and here's what you wanna do. You wanna put that line right there.
Uh-huh.
And then here you wanna put a 9.
Yep,
Then after that you would do the circle.
that's true.
And then you connect lines. No, it's a war problem.
That is an or problem.
Yeah.
So what do you do with or problems with your arrows?
You see there, you
push him out.
And you connect the dots, ors,
what?
they go out.
Yeah.
Make your arrows go out. Your own, what?
What did you just say?
Where?
There you go.
And right here.
Yep,
Somewhere.
there you go.
Yep.
You
And,
got it.
You got this.
Alright, good enough. Now you're done.
Well,
Cut you off. Alright, nice job. Remember, and you connect the dots or you go out. So, today's lesson is going to be a little different. We're not going to do any inequality things today. So, inequalities, remember, those are all the greater than or less than's. We're not doing those today. But we might do them tomorrow if I decide to finish this lesson. I haven't decided, though. We'll see. So, we're going to be working with absolute value stuff. So, absolute value, you guys have probably seen before. Let me just make this a little bit. Oh, no. I forgot I did that. So I want to know, what are the solutions of, see these big bars right here? Those are absolute value bars. So solution of absolute value of x plus 2 equals 9. So I'm going to kind of start to solve this, and then I'll explain it a little bit more. Actually, you know what? Let's kind of go over this first. If I have absolute value bars, so this is just kind of a random example. What do absolute value bars do? Anybody remember back middle school or maybe 5th grade?
No.
Anybody remember?
It's just
I remember the
It's
downside
always
of it,
positive.
but not-
It is always positive, yep. So, absolute value bars. If I have the absolute value of, say, the number 2, that's 2. Because what absolute value says, or actually, let me back up. If I have the absolute value of, say, -3, that is positive 3. Absolute value says, I don't care where it is, I just want to know how far away from 0 it is. So if I have a little number line right here, and I go 0, 1, 2, and I'm looking at the number 2, how far away is 2 from 0?
2.
It's 1, 2, right? What about if I'm going -1, -2,
Still 2 away.
-3? If I'm looking at -3, how far is -3 from 0? 2, 3. That is 3 away. That's what absolute value says. I don't care what side of 0 it's on, I just want to know how far away is it from 0. So basically, to kind of do your little shortcut here, it says if it is a negative number, it changes to positive. That's basically all it is. But we are going to be solving, and we're actually not going to worry about graphing it today. We might get into graphing tomorrow. I haven't decided if I want to do those or not. We'll see. So, I have the absolute value of x plus 2 outside the bars, and it's going to equal 9. So, what I need to do to solve this, these are going to be a little different. Today, we are always going to get 2 answers. So, last chapter, when we solved equations, we got x equals something like 5, and that was it. Not today. Today, we're going to get like x equals 2 and x equals, say, 3 or something like that. We'll see. So, I've got your 2. It's pretty simple to do. We need to start by getting the absolute value bars by themselves, or by itself. So I need to get these absolute value bars by themselves before I do anything else. Now, we can have something inside the bars, like I have this x inside there, that's fine. What I want to do is get rid of this plus 2. And I'm going to get rid of it basically like I get rid of anything else when I solve equations. What's the opposite of plus 2?
-2.
-2. We are going to minus 2 on both sides. Did you say divide by 2, Mejai?
That was James.
What?
Uh-huh. No.
That was not
Minus.
James.
Minus 2.
That was
Alright. We are going to minus 2 to do the opposite. I'm going to have absolute value of x. It's going to equal, on the right side, 9 minus 2 is 7. Make my 7 there. Okay. And this is where it gets a little weird. So absolute value says that it doesn't care if we're positive or negative. It just wants to know how far away we are. So whenever I get the bars by itself, I'm actually going to make 2 equations to solve. I am going to have one positive and one negative version. So I'm going to take this absolute value of x equals 7, and I'm going to split it up into 2 different ones. My first one, I am going to just drop the absolute value bars. Whenever you split it up, you drop the bars. And I'm going to go x equals, and I'm going to keep that as a positive 7. That's my first one. For the second one, same thing, but I'm going to change this into a negative 7. So I'm going to drop the bars and go x equals negative 7 on this. Because I'm looking at absolute value of x equals 7, right? If I put in positive 7, what's the absolute value of positive 7? Okay. What about when I put in negative 7? What's the absolute value of negative 7? 7. So there are 2 answers on this. And this is how I get both answers. We're starting off with easy ones, and they'll get a little tougher soon, but not yet. So my 2 answers are just this piece right here. X equals positive 7 and negative 7. And I'm putting little lines in my 7 so they don't look like a greater than, because they were looking like that earlier. So we're going to practice a couple of these. Like I said, we're going to start off with some easier ones first, and then we'll get into some tougher ones. So we have absolute value of n minus 5 equals 2. Just like before, get the absolute value of n by itself by doing the opposite of whatever's there. So Jace, how am I going to get rid of this minus 5? What am I doing, Jace? He's got this. Let him answer.
You are going to plus or add 5 on both sides of the time.
I don't really know why you're talking like that, but you're correct. We're going to add 5 to both sides. We're going to add 5 to both sides. So we're gonna add 5 to both sides, and no, hang
All the
on,
way, Goldie.
hang on. I typed this one in. That should be a 7 right there. I don't know why that's an 8. No, I was even wrong too. Because that's what you get after you add the 5. That should be a 2. Man, I don't know what I'm doing. There we go. Did the steps in my head. Yeah.
Michelle.
I don't know why I did it this way, but I did.
Michelle.
Alright, so I add 5 to both sides, and I get absolute value of n equals 7. Alright, I got my absolute value bars by itself, and now that I do this, I'm going to make my 2 equations. So, absolute value of n, I'm going to ignore the boxes, since that last one was wrong. I feel bad. So I'm going to split it up into my 2 equations. I am going to have I'm going to have the absolute value bars are going to go away, and I'm going to have my positive answer, n equals 7, and the bars go away, and I'm going to have my negative answer, n equals negative 7. This is kind of a random. I should have done different numbers. It's not well. So I get my 2 answers. I need both of these to fully answer my question. N equals 7, n equals negative 7. Those are both your answers. You need them both. All 2.
Mr. Gopi, look what I did. There's an error right there. There's a box right there. Really cool. Yeah.
Alright, let's add an in-class problem here. I didn't actually put this on your paper, so like someplace on the bottom, let's go ahead and do this one.
Wow.
We'll try it out. We'll do some of the easy ones before we get to the harder ones.
Wow.
Let's do absolute value of y. Let's have minus 6, and it's going to equal, 14. Alright, do this as your first in-class problem. This random one.
That's just a random question.
Yep, it's a first in-class one. I didn't have it on the paper. I just made it up because I wanted you guys to practice it real quick. So someplace you have empty space, like on the bottom of that paper. So solve for y, and don't forget, you're going to get 2 answers, positive and negative.
Have you seen all Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
No.
Did you watch Agent? No. Did you watch Thor Ragnarok?
Did. Twice actually.
Why? Did you watch it?
Yeah. Because I went with my wife, and then we went with her dad later.
What day did you go?
Mr. Gopi.
Friday and Sunday.
I went Friday.
We went right on the day it came out, right?
It's Saturday.
I didn't see you.
Those are the days he didn't go.
Mother, you were way on
He
the
The
went.
only day he didn't go on the weekends.
Mother's
Who was I with?
I don't know who they were.
I didn't even know we were out.
I was with.
I'll give you about another 30 seconds, then we'll go over it.
Too bad Odin dies, huh?
Hmm?
That Odin dies.
Who is that?
This is Des and Troy.
He's the only one that can actually fight against Thanos.
Not really.
Too bad.
Doctor Strange is too weak.
Doctor Strange, he could just put her in a different dimension or anything. He could just,
We're talking about Thanos.
yeah, no. Oh, Doctor
Alright,
Strange.
let's get started. Pick somebody random to do this one. Delia.
But I want to do it. It's not working.
Alright, Delia's going to do this one on the board.
Ruben,
Follow along, make sure
I call
you
this
get the
one
right
Troy.
answer or that you have the same
Troy.
answer.
because the other was they destroyed.
It's not working.
They come back to
You
you.
must
Like
make your
this is a shit.
Use the muscle that you have. Some.
Okay, that's a 6.
What's that?
You're not do that double memory.
Angle. 1 minus 6. Alright, so we're going to add 6 to both sides. Nice job, Adelia. Keep going. Keep it going. And we're going to get... We're getting negative. Why?
We get negative Y with the.
She didn't mean to draw that line.
Okay.
you get a negative Y?
No, it's not
Please,
a negative
bugger.
one. That's not a negative
busy.
one.
Alright, now what are we doing after we get the bars by himself? You finish it off, Adelia.
It's a negative 20.
Write it down.
Oh,
Please. Hey,
What?
just telling you the
Don't mess with her. She's answering this.
Telling you the answer.
Well,
She's got it. I believe in her. Alright, so we are going to get, I think that's,
What
oh,
is
that's
that?
an arrow. I thought that was a Y.
What is what?
Alright, just put your answer somewhere on the left, Adelia, since you're running out of space.
Yeah, she got you.
Since you got that blue big handwriting.
Yeah.
I don't get that second part.
I would like
Third part.
Alright,
have you
so
seen
we're
the
going to
song?
get Y equals,
Have you seen the song?
No, and then Y. So
Yeah,
I can
positive
see
and
you
negative.
again.
I cannot.
No, okay.
Please look closely.
And then
Yeah.
like, he jumps out of a plane and he's like,
so 20, and you forgot the 0 on your
Please look
negative.
closely.
There's no arms.
Look so closely.
Alright, let's
Hey.
let me just help that a little
So
bit.
mean.
Alright, and then real quick, in case you're not entirely sure what Adelia wrote,
No, I'm not.
we get Y equals negative 20
Yeah?
and Y equals positive 20.
Oh.
Positive and negative.
Why do we need that part?
What?
Why do we need that part?
What part?
I'm talking about his handwriting.
Where you go down.
He's the one that.
This one?
Yeah.
Well, because now you'll see. It's just, we're gonna have some other stuff. Alright, so those were the easy parts. Now we're gonna get to some tougher ones.
I don't understand that part.
I already gave you a pick.
Oh, now you split it into two problems. One with the positive answer and one with the negative answer.
okay.
So Y equals 20 and Y equals negative.
How do I put that? Where do I,
Have you seen
I did it right. That's all that matters.
have you seen
Alright, so we're getting into some of the tougher problems now. Hey,
This quarter or last quarter?
alright, that's strike one.
Oh, Dylan, shut up.
Okay, we're getting into some tougher problems now. So, this time around, I have absolute value of x minus 5, and then I have minus 1 outside the bars, and it's going to equal 4. So, just like before, we want to get the x by itself with these absolute value bars. But what we are going to have to do first is we need to get the bars by themselves before we can do anything else. So, I have that minus 1 outside my bars, which means I need to get rid of that by adding 1 to both sides. And then I'm actually going to go down here so I have space. So I add 1 to both sides, I get absolute value of x minus 5, and it's going to equal 4 plus 1 is 5. Alright, so the bars are by themselves, right? The bars by themselves, Luis?
Yeah.
Yep. So, the bars are by themselves, so I'm going to split, kind of like parentheses, yeah, actually, they work a lot like parentheses. So, I am going to split this into two problems. One is going to have the positive answer, one is going to have the negative answer. So, I'm going to have x minus 5, the bars go away now that I split it up, it's going to equal a positive 5, and I'm going to have an x minus 5, and this time it's going to equal negative 5. Question, Greg?
No.
So whenever those absolute is always in the.
Whenever you see these, we're always going to split it up. So, I split this into my two different problems, right? Are the x's by themselves after I'm done splitting it up?
No.
No. So, now that I split it up, I have to actually solve for x on both sides. So I'm going to need to add 5 on my left side here. And the 5's cancel out, which is good. I'm going to get x equals 10. And I'm going to have to add 5 over here on the right side. I'm going to have to add 5, and I'm going to get x equals 0. So this time around, I still have my two answers, but they're different numbers. They're not like the positive and negative of the same number. And this is what most of your homework is going to be like today. So we get x equals 10, and we get x equals 0. And you know what? Let's do this one. I'm not going to make that in class problem. So we get x equals 10, x equals 0. So let's try another one like this. So on this absolute value in minus 1, it is going to equal 2. On this one, do I need to get the absolute value bars by themselves?
No.
No. Absolute value bars are already by themselves. So we can actually skip our first step. Because there's no plus or minus, we could actually have like a 3 out front, like we're multiplying, like with parentheses. But we don't have it this time around, so I am just going to split it into my two different problems. So I'm going to have one with the positive, one with the negative. So I'm going to have n minus 1, it's going to equal positive 2. Remember, once it splits, the negative goes away. And I'm going to have n minus 1, it's going to equal negative 2. And just like before, I got to solve both of these problems for n. So on my left problem here, I got to add 1 to both sides. It's pretty easy, I just got to get rid of a minus 1. And I'm going to get n equals 3. On my right problem, same thing, but after I add 1 to both sides, I'm going to get n equals negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. And these are my two answers. N equals 3, n equals negative 1. Turn around and fix your nose.
I am.
Yes. Leave Magi alone. He doesn't need more attention.
It's not me.
You just kind of proved the point there, Magi.
Could be getting more attention.
Alright. So, we're going to get into one kind of sneaky situation before we are going to practice more of these. So, let's go through. I have absolute value of 3x minus 6, and then I have a minus 5, and it's going to equal negative 7. So, let's go around. Moses, what's the first thing I'm going to do in this problem?
Get plus 5 on each side.
Yep, we're going to plus 5 on both sides, and I'm going to bring it down here because I'm out of space. So I have absolute value of 3x minus 6, and it's going to equal negative 7 plus 5 is negative 2. Alright, so let's go through and let's look at this. Delia, help me out here. On this problem right here, I have absolute value of 3x minus 6. Without even looking at it, what do you know about this left side? What is this absolute value going to be always? What are all absolute values? After you take the absolute value of a number.
That you can divide it by 3, so you can get rid of
No,
it. You can put a
you're
3
going
under
too
it.
specific. You're going too specific. I mean, in general, if I have absolute value bars, what is every single absolute value equal? There's something in common with every single absolute value. Let me give you a hint. If you have, let's say, if I have the absolute value of x, actually, if I have the absolute value of 2, what is my answer going to be, positive or negative?
It's gonna be positive.
Positive, right? What if I have the absolute value of negative 2? What's my answer going to be?
Negative 2, right? Or positive 2 because you're dividing.
Because absolute value basically gets rid of negatives, right? Which means every single absolute value is a, what kind of number, Adelia?
A positive.
It's always positive. Absolute value is always positive. So, without even doing anything in these absolute value bars, I know it has to be positive, right? But this equals a negative 2. Can a positive ever equal a negative?
No.
No. So, this is where absolute value can be a little sneaky. Absolute value can never be negative. Inside my bars, it's never negative. So on this one, I say there is no solution because before I dropped the bars, I had a negative. So, keep this in mind.
Okay.
If before, and I'm going to really emphasize before you drop the bars, if there is a negative, we say no solution because absolute value can never be negative. After you drop the bars, negatives are fine. I don't care after the bars are dropped. You know, when we split it into our two problems, that is fine. But if before we drop the bars, our answer is never negative. So keep that in mind as you guys go through these, because they might throw in a sneaky problem in here somewhere. So keep it in mind. I said that like 5 times because there's always somebody who doesn't pay any attention. Yeah. My towel head back here.
Oh! I thought you were going to say something else, Monkey.
Mr.
I don't
Golke.
know. Yes, it is.
So we're gonna have solution, no solution, and equal.
So we are going to have either two equals. So today, that's a good question. So today, you're either going to have two numbers. So x equals 1, x equals 3, that kind of thing. Or today you may get a no solution for answer. It's going to be one of these two situations. It'll either be two numbers or
No solution.
Okay.
yeah, it should never be one number. Because you'll always get, you'll always have two different numbers or no solution. So we're just going to practice a couple more of these. This is all we're doing, but we're going to practice a little bit. So let's look at this first one up here. 2, and then absolute value bars, x minus 1, and then that is going to equal 10. Let's have Gabe. Are those absolute value bars on top by themselves?
No.
So how do I get rid of that 2? Yep. Because there is a times between the 2 and the bars right here, even though we're not writing it. So to get rid of it, I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. After I divide by 2, I get absolute value, x minus 1, and it's going to equal 5. And then, help me out, what are we going to do next, Ruben? We'll just keep going around. Are the bars by themselves? Like, are there any plus or minus outside of the bars?
No.
Nope. So bars are by themselves. Does this equal a negative number right here? No. So my answer is going to be two numbers, so I need to figure those out. So what do I do to find those two numbers? Do you remember?
I was telling to shut up, so can you say that again?
All right. So our answer is going to be the two number thing. So how do I find those two numbers?
That would be -5 and -5.
Yeah. So we're going to split it up, right? Into our two problems. I'm going to drop the bars and go x minus 1 equals positive 5. And x minus 1 equals negative 5. All right, Kinsey, help me out with this left problem here. What do I got to do to solve it?
You add 1 on both sides.
And what do I get after I do that?
X equals 6.
Yep. And then, Jace, how about this right side? What do I do? On this right side right here, what do I do?
You're gonna add 1.
Yep. What do I get after I do that?
X equals
What?
-4.
Yep, negative 4. And these are my two answers. These are my two answers. Question, Adelia?
Yeah. So are we
Uh-huh.
gonna get two answers in every problem? Like, so if we're going through these.
It'll always be two answers or no solution. It'll be one of those two things. Always two answers or no solution. All right, let's do this last one, and then we might skip to the exit ticket just to give you guys some more time. But we'll see. All right, so on this last one, Lillian, help me out. I have absolute value x plus 3, and then I have minus 6 outside the bars. It's going to equal negative 5. What should I do first?
It's a no solution because it equals a
Ooh, you are very close. Are the absolute value bars by themselves?
No, so you add 6.
We're going to have to add 6. So, be careful. Absolute value bars aren't by themselves yet, so we got to get them by themselves first. So we're going to add 6 to both sides. And Lillian, what do I get when I add 6?
It'd be 1.
So absolute value of x plus 3, and it's going to equal positive 1. So, after I get the bars by themselves, I don't have a negative on that right side anymore. That was good remembering. Good remembering. But this was another sneaky problem. That's why I put it on here. It's sneaky. It's very sneaky. All right. So Ashley, I got the bars by themselves, right? So what am I going to do next?
Your 1 looks like a 7.
Thank you. What am I doing next, Ashley?
Except for the fraction bar under it.
We're right here. Right here. You got it. Good time. We do. We drop the absolute value bars, yep. And we split it up into our two problems. So we drop the bars and we get x plus 3. It's going to equal positive 1. And we drop the bars, we get x plus 3. And it's going to equal negative 1. So remember, once you get the bars by themselves, make sure they don't equal a negative. Because these don't equal a negative, we're actually going to go through and solve it. All right, let's keep going. Beto, how about on this left side? What am I going to do? Yep. And what do I get after I minus 3? Yep. Greg, what am I doing on the right side?
Minus 3.
Yep. And what do I get?
-4.
Yep. Those are my 2 answers. X equals -2. X equals -4. And remember, you need both of these to actually answer this question. You need both of them. All right. Well, let's look. Actually, do you guys want to try one on your own, or do you want to skip to the exit ticket? I'll let you pick.
No.
Exit ticket? All right.
So you just do.
So we'll skip these for right now. And let's go to your exit ticket. Answer both of these. And then I'll make sure your homework is on Google Classroom. And I might... Actually, no, I think those are the right numbers. I think I checked those already. So do your exit ticket. Put them in Socrative. I'll turn that on in just a second. And then start your homework on Google Classroom.
Mr. Golke,
Yeah, guys.
my Chromebook has 1%.
You better type quick then, huh?
Oh, Mr. Golke, no!
You might have to get one from Mrs. Metcalf.